record. All right, it is the 19th of September and we are quantum bursting. So checking in, I'm checking in. I just got babies in my hands. And here's what I want to say about that. I'm going to check in first, obviously. It's so trippy to be around a baby, generally speaking. But it is so quadruply trippy to be around twins. And they being around identical twins, they literally, in every way, well, Tal says it's like they're the same baby in two bodies, but they're almost always in the same position. It's crazy. They sound the same energetically when you hold them. They feel the same. They're the same size. They look the same. I can now tell them apart because they have a little bit of head shape difference. But it's like Hunter, I mean, Hayden was just crying just like 10 minutes ago. He's crying. And then I went out there and I'm like, that's not Hunter. That's not Hayden. Now Hunter's crying. Tyler goes, oh yeah, they just swapped. They just passed it. You couldn't tell any difference. So Linda being a twin, I'm fascinated by your experience as a twin, but we can talk. We don't have to spend the time here now to talk about that, but it's just, you lay them on the ground and it's like, there's two of them. How do you do this? It's like, oh my God. Anyway, pretty cool. So check in. Anybody else? How are you? What's moving? What's happening? Everybody all at once.
I'll go. I don't really know what I'm going to say, but I'll just start with the part about being a twin. But we're fraternal. We're not identical. Although we look so much alike that our whole lives, people argue with us about being identical. But especially as we've gotten older, we're much different now.
But do you look more the same now or less the same?
No, well, it's interesting. Years go by and we don't look alike. And then all of a sudden we'll start looking a lot alike again. And then we don't. Mm-hmm. But she's much heavier than I am. And I used to be heavy too, but she's always been heavy. And I'm the one that goes up and down. I'm actually more comfortable in my thin body, but it's usually when I've been in relationships that weren't healthy, I got heavier. And so then one of my ways out is to go back to exercising, do my thing and stuff. So anyway, that's been my pattern. Now my mom thinks I'm way too skinny. So I got that, but it's the first time she liked my haircut in many years. So
and you just got back, right? You were
I just got back last night.
Yeah.
I'm not even really fully back. I'm just sort of in that kind of a travel transition place. And I had while I was gone, I had two of my jobs that started this week cancel for different reasons. And in some ways I'm grateful because I could really use the more downtime, and I'm just going to let Spirit take care of my finances. I keep giving it up and say, it's all going to work out. Yeah. So, but anyway, one of the clients was planning on going to Morocco, and part of the tour was exactly where they had that earthquake.
Oh.
And so it was very obvious they weren't going there. They couldn't even, the tour company never even got in touch with them.
What?
So yeah, it was crazy. They kept waiting to hear. And 2 days before they still hadn't heard. So we just figured the communications must be out. So they can't get in touch. So anyway,
I'm adjusting my power cable. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I found it. You were looking for it last time I saw it. I was talking to you. The charger cable. So anyway, had a nice visit with Mom. We did end up sort of getting each other's feathers ruffled a few times. And what I was aware of is how much alike we are. And the times when we were getting upset with each other was she wouldn't make a decision. She wanted me to do whatever I wanted to do what she wanted to do, and she wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. And neither of us wanted to make the decision for the other person. So that's the it ended up being amusing because once I saw it, it was like, oh, look, here we are. Okay, she doesn't want she only wants a hamburger and she wants it at Chick-fil-A. I'll just go buy a bigger meal at Chick-fil-A and we'll see what happens. I said, Mom, they don't serve hamburgers at Chick-fil-A. I got one there once. So what do? You just do what you can do. And but it was really nice to see her. She is definitely starting to I would call it just withdrawing. She's just part of the reason I like visiting with her was because it was my way of getting her out and giving her more stimulation. And we did do that on Sunday. We drove 2.5 hours to see my older sister who lives in Tampa or just moved down there. So it was really a nice long drive there and then a nice visit. We had lunch together and then the longer drive back because of the traffic. But that was the best day of giving her more stimulation and stuff. It was just mostly she just didn't want to go out. She didn't want to do anything. She just thought it was too much trouble to get in the car. And so that was a little hard for me to watch that happening,
Yeah.
And letting it happen because it's just part of her process.
Right.
So for me, it's just been sort of the whole thing about how to manage myself while dealing with everybody else's stuff. Whether it's mom stuff or client stuff or the cat's not wanting to eat or whatever, it's like, this is okay, right? It is all okay, right? Just had to keep reminding myself, we just do what I'm doing. So I'm glad to be home, glad to have a few days where my schedule is a little quieter. Went to the dentist this morning and had a very good, he said my teeth were really healthy compared to where they had been. And so that made me feel good. So
Very good.
little things done consistently over time make a big change. So
yeah. Definitely. Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump in. I don't really have a whole lot to share today, not because I don't want to share it, just because there's not a lot that comes to mind. So it's been, gosh, it's been 2 weeks since we met.
I think
Yeah.
so, because I think I was in a board meeting last week. Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like it's been a long time, but I'm physically and mentally feeling good. Getting lots of pickleball in 3 times this week, back to back.
Awesome.
Nancy and I are actively running about the universe, doing things and having a great time, dancing and, oh, oops, no, that's what we want to do. So I love her expressions. I never felt to surprise her. Anyway, not a lot that I can think of right now. I just wanted to jump in here and say hi and experiment.
Awesome. Yay. Nancy, you're still muted. Take 2.
Okay. I never know what he's going to say. I'm listening and I go, you're running around with somebody named Nancy who likes to dance. Yay, good for you. You know? Tell me when you're back, you know. How am I? You know what? I've been gone today a lot with a girlfriend, and you know what? It was so fun to see her say, because I was driving, so getting in and out of our truck, which is my nemesis. And finally she looked at me and she goes, she's 5'10". She can get in anything. She goes, I have trouble getting in and out of your truck. And I had one of those WTF moments, like, why then am I doing this? Because it's so hard. It's just hard. But we went to look at, and we didn't, you know, in my mind, I was going to run out and go to 2 or 3 different places. We went to one, but we went to a 55 plus 55 active, what do they call them? Active adult communities, you know, because, and here's, you know, why it was fun. Because we went to an event at our senior citizen center one Friday ago, and these people were there, and he said, well, I'm going to look at these. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not sure you really want to, you know, I don't think that's what this is. I think it's actually for senior living, and we're not there. He goes, no, I think it's active community. And he goes, I want to find out more about it, because we've been talking about what's our next, you know, what's our next? We know we're going to stay in this house till the end of time, unless we build a very large bedroom off the back of this house. So I don't have to do the stairs. Even when I get totally better, I am like so over stairs. I'm just over them. And right now they're impossible. So anyway, we had gotten literature, and my friend and I, because she and her husband, they live out on the lake, we're just talking about, well, what could it look like? What are our choices? And do we really want to own something? Do we need to own, or we would like the freedom of not having to fix the air conditioner, not having to, you know, we're just entertaining. And Stephen I didn't think he'd even talk about it. But so today she and I went to one. And here's the comical thing. We met over by Home Goods. Now, if you know, I have like a little bit of a Home Goods addiction, and she does too. So, and it's that time of year when all stuff is out. We walked in, we looked at each other, we walked out. I started laughing. I said, you know, when you're going to go look at a place that requires you to downsize, it's really tough to go into a store and think, what would I do with this shit later? You know, so we solved 2 things. We spent no money doing that, had lunch, and then enjoyed having a tour of this place. And so I think more than it being the answer, it was the fun of research and exploring. What are our choices? What works? You know, where do we want to live? We've been talking about, what state do we want to live in? You know, does it, well, and anyway, we're just so today, getting in and out of the truck was a challenge, because I'm very sore. But it was so fun to get out, and I felt like a little bit of an adventure into a different lifestyle. Does that make sense? How does it, what does this look like, and does it work? Would this be a good move for us together and us separate if some health happens to anybody? Anyway, so today's been an exploration day, and I came in and I just popped a Tylenol a while ago, and I'm almost comfortable sitting at this table again. So as far as anything else, I found myself reading back in our book today, and going back over things that I'd written along the way, and I went, holy shit, did that come out of that meditation thing? And that's really, I mean, I read one of them, I went, holy crap, that's deep. It was almost like, who wrote that? Because I really didn't feel like I wrote it. It felt like it was being written, and it felt that way at the time that it came through. But just to review back on some of the things that we say and we do here, it was like, that's why we do this. That's what that's about. So it's one of those days. So anyway, that's what I was doing. That's what I'm up to.
Very cool.
So we have twins. I have a niece and a nephew that are twins. And much of their life, like when they were little, except that they were in the same grade, you would say, no, those aren't twins. They don't act. And then there was their 16th birthday. And I was sitting there and I was very poor at the moment because I was between jobs. So I went to the dollar store and I bought them 16 of this and 16 of that and 16 of this and just all these things. And their faces, first of all, both reacted exactly the same way. They don't look alike at all. And constantly, and I watched them then, and throughout the whole party, they were looking at each other. When someone would do something, they would look at each other. When one of them would open something, they would look at each other. And I was like, wow, that bond is so strong. And I never even realized it was there. And they are still as different as night and day, but they are so bonded.
Cool.
So there is this twin thing, and obviously they're not identical.
Right.
I have the cutest picture of them when they're in a twin stroller, and he was a little chunk-a-monk, a little guy, and she was like thinner than a leaf. And he weighed 1 pound more than her, and he was like, and she was like frail. And I'm like, the difference 1 pound makes. Ta-da! They're darling. But anyway, yes, twins. And I was gonna say, I didn't really realize it, and then I realized it, and now I always see it. You just have to see it at some point. So let's see. I made it to my doctor's appointment, my first Medicare wellness check, and I had to memorize the three or four words, and then put the hands on the face of a clock, and then put 11:10 on the clock, and then tell them those words again. I was like, "Are you kidding me? What are you kidding?" I couldn't believe it. So I've interviewed people since then. About half my friends have to do that once a year at their Medicare wellness test, and about half of them have never, ever done it. All within the same age range. It just depends on which doctor you go to.
Wow.
I thought I really like my doctor, or I would be like, why are you making me do that? And then, I don't know, we have 2 hospitals in town, and they've been, in competition for years, and coronavirus did its thing. And so now they're letting go of some very good people because they pay them so well that they don't want them anymore. So we're having kind of a doctor crisis here right now. And I did say to this new doctor, who I actually have seen, and I knew him, I said, "You're not leaving, are you?" Because the last 4 nurse practitioners I've seen at your office now over 8 years have all left.
Oh.
One after and he said, "No, I just signed my contract." And I said, "Okay, well, that's a good thing." But anyway, they're so busy. So I got my blood test done. Eventually they made it through the electronics to my chart. This was 2 weeks ago. And he was going to call me with all my medication refills and switch my asthma inhaler to something I could afford on Medicare. And I've heard nothing. I sent him an email finally last week, midweek, and I said, "Okay, so, hey guys, nothing." So I asked my neighbor across the street, who's a nurse, and she goes to that office, and she said she's been having the same problem. They just don't have enough people. So I'm okay with most things, but since they've changed my Synthroid 5 times in the last year, I have this little assortment of different amounts of pill. So every week I sit there and go, one of these and half of this and a quarter of this, that'll be enough for that day. And then, I'm just trying to make it work. I will email them again at the end of this week if I don't hear from them. Fortunately, I'm not in a crisis. I can make that work. I can, juggle those things. But gosh, what about those people that are like in a crisis? I guess I should just be grateful I'm not. But anyway, and there was this, I got really, really, really serious cellulitis one year when we were on vacation and we were in Taos. And I went to a walk-in clinic and we decided maybe we shouldn't keep going to Sedona. Maybe we should turn around and come home. So we turned around to start to come home. We got as far as Colby, Kansas. And I ended up in the hospital there. which had 24 beds. One end was the maternity ward and the other end was the emergency room. So they kept me alive. I stayed there for 5 days until they thought I could travel. And then they said, okay, you can travel. And they sent me home with like buku drugs. And so we came home. It took us 3 days to get home because I was a mess. I couldn't sit for that long. The second I got home, I went to the doctor the next morning and went back into the hospital for 7 more days. And there was this amazing infection specialist guy. I mean, he was amazing, this doctor. I couldn't believe that, like, I was fortunate enough to live in the same town as he was. And he came floating in the room. He looked like Omar Sharif, you know, he just came floating in. And just as gentle and sweet and kind. And he said, he looked through my records from the last place and he said, you know, they kept you alive. But they did not know how to treat an infection like this. He said that he was so kind. He said they did the best they could, but they would never have known how to treat something like this. So, I mean, he was wonderful. He was wonderful. And as we found out, because I had home health care for months and IVs, and it was a mess. One of the nurses said that he'll get the test results and then they won't hear from him for like a day or two because he prays over every decision that he makes so that he's sure that it's the right decision.
Wow.
And that he takes off what all the other doctors are taking off Wednesday afternoon to go golf or Thursday afternoon to go golf. He takes it off to go meditate. I mean, this guy was like stellar. And I always felt it's so funny how you get that. I'm like, well, you know, he's still here in case I ever need him again. Well, they got rid of him. He's now gone. I thought, why would you get rid of someone that good, especially around a time of coronavirus? But my current doctor said, yeah, we're sinking, basically. He said, we're sinking. I thought, that's great. Okay. But I'm a good advocate. You know, I'll just keep calling them. And if I have to, I'll go plant my butt at their office. And in the meantime, we're good. And I figure, you know, if I had anything like lethal, hopefully they would have called me by now.
Wow.
You would think there'd be like the big red flag. They'd be like, call her, you know. So one more thing taken care of. Next week, we're going to go see, we'll be here Tuesday, but next Wednesday, we're going to go see my friend's sister Agnes, who turned 100 earlier this summer, and we didn't get a chance to see her. And I sent her everything I could think of for someone that turned 100 for her 100th birthday party, from everything you could think of. I kind of did the party for her. But when I was in the convent, she was probably in her early 60s. And she is actually, and she is still as sharp as a tack, but her body just doesn't work anymore. But when I would say, people would say, what order do you belong to? And I would say, servant of the Holy Heart of Mary. And to a person, they'd go, never heard of him. And I'd say, Agnes Cunningham. And they go, oh yeah. Because she was like a world-renowned theologian. So in our little tiny mixture. So we've kept in touch for years, and I'm really delighted that we're going to get a chance to go visit her up at the nursing home next week and looking forward to it. So we aren't doing much, we're doing important stuff. So there you go.
Very cool. That's awesome. Lots happening. The other piece that you are aware of is Jaden, and God bless that girl. Linda, you saw that in the Facebook post? Yeah, so she had her surgery today, and I heard that she came out of surgery, but she was still in recovery. They don't know if they're going to send her home because the doctor said she had to stay overnight, but he did the surgery in a hospital that doesn't allow children. So they're not sure how they're going to navigate through that one. I haven't heard yet, but she sent me an x-ray of the bone yesterday, and you can see the screws. She had the scar above the kneecap and the scar below the kneecap, and the shin right below the pins, 2 big pins or screws or whatever they are. The shin bone right below there twisted and broke and is sticking out. Looks like she's got 2 kneecaps. So they have to reattach it, a plate, more screws, and realign it, because part of that was that alignment, because her tibia was crooked. So that's where the bone graft and all that stuff comes in. Crazy. You go, what in the world? So I don't have any answers, but she seems to have a pretty good attitude, which is either good. But Amy said the other day she said she's in more pain than she was before, or during, or after the surgery. She's in more pain now than she ever has had, and that girl apparently knows pain. So I just keep her, and the emotion, the disappointment, and the devastation, and all this stuff. I mean, Nancy seemed to know that pretty well with your femur healing, but it's like, oh, geez. So there you have that. Spoke at Wimberley last Sunday. That was really fun. If anybody wants to come next Sunday, like Linda, you're probably the only one. That would be great. Sweet little church down there. So anyway, that's all I got. Did not do my consciousness group today, so I've got nothing new or exciting. So where do we want to hang today? What do we want to, in addition, over, above, under, around, all is well, it is done. Where do we want to focus? Last time we were focusing on really kind of what was our next level of beingness.
Can we use the word alignment, which falls into all of this?
Yeah.
In alignment, of course, on the physical, and I can't even tell you how I feel for Jaden. I just can't even go there with this. But when you find out that whatever's been done before didn't hold and it's not fusing right, and it's so, she's young and I know she'll handle it, but it's for just a moment in time when the drugs wear off, it's so disheartening.
But in her case, it all held.
Oh, it
Everything
did.
from the previous surgery is perfect. She got
Oh.
cleared on Monday, and then she fell on Thursday. It's below the surgery site, the shin, the tibia below broke. So I don't know if the bone was weakened because of all the surgery or who knows what, but yeah.
We'll never.
Or maybe the teacher should have listened when she said, I can't do it.
Yeah, maybe
there is that.
There's that. And then when we're talking to her more, it was a little, she had a twinge of something weird on Wednesday, and then talking to the physical therapist, it could have been that extra pressure of the run. It could have happened in church. It was just such a fluky thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of feeling around that teacher.
I would bet. And if I were her, I'd be worried, like, is there something wrong with my bones?
That's where I went.
Like, why would this happen again in a different place?
Yeah. One of my friends, when her grandson was probably 13, maybe 14, maybe younger than Jaden, 13 or 14, he fell a couple of times, and they took him to the doctor and found out he had this big massive cancer that he got treated for like 14 months, and rounds of chemo and surgeries and all kinds of stuff. But yeah,
there's so many things to check in, not cutting into time, but part of my story was the doctor was sure I had a vitamin D deficiency, and let's make a dose you for 13 weeks. And I went back and said, how about if we run the test? And I love this, Kate, you're talking about communication with them. X amount of days go by, they never call me with the results of the thing. So I don't know, do you have portals? I mean, I communicate through a portal. I love it. I love that you have portals into the universe for your doctor staff, and send it. And finally I got one gal, and they take 48 hours, whatever, and called back, and she gave me information, to which I said, I have no idea what to do with that. You need to understand that I know you said words. I don't know where to slot that. I don't know what that means.
right.
And she said, well, and you don't need to take the pill anymore. So, and I said, here's what I'd like to have. Where did I rank? Where should I be? And okay, fine. And then, what next for the femur? It just, and it took him another 48 hours, because she said, I don't quite know how to type this. And I go, I said, and I cut to the chase real quick and gave it to her. She said, I don't know why I was making that hard. I said, try living in it. You just can't explain things. And finally they call back and they still don't give me all the information, but I finally let go and said, I just started laughing and went, when I go in, I'll ask for a copy of the report and I'll get somebody who can read it to me and explain it. But you just, but you need to find out what it isn't. How do I say that? What isn't the cause in Jaden's and yeah, because you're looking at that and but so I do a lot of healing on my bone and fusion, having it fused back together because she was ahead of me on that one. And but alignment just partially for me, and it can be whatever anybody says, but alignment is not only this, but it's alignment within the body. It, that's my word. I'm going to wing that in there somehow.
Yeah. I like alignment too. Anybody else?
I'm not sure if it fits in the same way, but I was hearing connective, a connective tissue, connective with each other, connective with the universe, connective with the quantum. And
I love it.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. That's all basically what I was going to say too, that alignment, connectivity, it's all inner and outer and around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
and also like that ray of light that was shining.
I know
I
that
love
was
that too.
Yeah, go back, lean back just a little bit and see if it comes back. No, I don't know where it was. It was beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So all is well, it is done as we quantum burst ourselves and our world into miraculous outcomes. We are aligned and connected. Maybe just simply that. We feel, we become connective alignments. Connective, connected alignment. Connective because you said connective tissue. So connective feels more active to me. Connected. With connected alignment, do we want to combine them? With alignment and connectivity, with alignment and connectivity, we know all is well and it is done. As we allow and receive quantum bursts, quantum shifts, and miraculous outcomes. Something like that. Okay, now a hard question. What programs you want to run?
Gems.
I went to gems too. Everybody gems? Our most favorite? All right. In alignments and connectivity. All is well, it is done. All right. First one today is Rutile Quartz. Promotes, oh, love this. Promotes precision alignment with higher sources of energy and inspiration. Helps us physically anchor the ability to access, synthesize, and communicate information from other dimensions. Next one is Azurite. Grounding communication opens and strengthens the connection between the feminine earth forces and the fifth chakra, helps us communicate with vitality, authenticity, and gentleness. Next one is Citrine. Harmonizes the mental body with higher spiritual laws, increases access to divine truth and intelligence, amplifies qualities of concentration, centering, and rational mind. Next one is Brazilian Amethyst. Transmutes energy from lower to higher vibratory rates, helps to lift energy from an overly material state, helps one sense and experience one's unique spiritual reality. And the last one is emerald, a universal heart cleanser and balancer. Energies of the Divine Mother and the Divine Feminine gently coaxes the heart to open to allow a greater experience of love in the physical body. Any comments?
I don't remember us ever having emerald. We may have, I just don't remember it. So that's, um, if you don't mind, would you read that one more this time?
Yep. Emerald, a universal heart cleanser and balancer. Energies of the Divine Mother and the Divine Feminine gently coaxes the heart to open to allow a greater experience of love in the physical body.
And I just needed the name of the second to last one.
The second to last one is Brazilian Amethyst.
Oh, okay.
All right. Feeling, allowing, intending that alignment and that connectivity with our connective tissue, with others, with the universe, with the quantum, knowing all is well and it is done. Just breathing into that. And we'll 6 minutes. I'm starting now. Take a breath in. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Ooh, how was that? Steve, you got that light again. Right to your heart.
Yeah, I know. I keep I chocolate. I was on Yahoo.
Yahoo.
I was experiencing all this as well. First of all, it started off, peaceful, easy, just drifting into the quantum, just being out there, and then I was aware of the five crystalline structures of each of these gems and merging into something new, something more than the sum of the parts, and aware that I was standing right in the middle of it. And I don't know if I can really explain what it was like, other than just there's a sense of intense energy coming through it, and of being connected because the stones themselves had merged and connected with each other. Um, so, yeah, see what happens from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh. Nancy, you muted, unmuted and then muted.
I thought Kate came on. Steve, you look like you have a lightsaber. And you hold it? Yeah, that's incredible. And the first time, time just becomes something else. But I was utterly uncomfortable, just uncomfortable. I hadn't gotten body relaxed yet from doing a lot today. And I just was sitting here going, I just friggin' ache all the time, and I've said it with my friend today who's went through this, maybe 10 years ago. And she says, it's just a low grade ache all the time. I go, that's as opposed to stabbing pain. It's a low grade, never lets up ache. And so I was in it. And then I don't know that I tapped into any particular gem, and maybe it's what Steve's talking about. On some level, there was a merging of them. And what I heard, or what I heard and felt was, you're very attached to this break, aren't you? One thing when you're working with gems and you're doing this energy, it's not the time to argue. That was so, you're very attached. And what I felt next was, so crazy, is I felt whatever take me. And it was like, how, like you take a pillowcase out of the dryer or so, and you shake it and you want it to be the wrinkles to come out, then you're gonna do whatever, but you just shake it. And I felt shaken. And then I had heat. I had such incredible heat coming through me. And oh my God, way past hot flashes. It's not hot in this room, but I had just started to get hot. I thought it was going to get sweaty. And I felt like something was just burning, kind of like burning the dross. Does that mean, that's even a whatever, like whatever in a forest when they have to burn off or whatever, it felt like that was burning off. And I thought, huh. And I didn't have to think anything except, what if that wasn't how you, what if you didn't need to feel that way? Doesn't matter what if you just didn't have, it's not about ignoring it. Does it kind of make sense here? It's not about pretending it doesn't happen. It's just about what if you just to let go of that attachment to that knowledge, information, realness? What if you could just let go? And with a weary body, and shaken out and burned off. I thought I was gonna have to get a cold pack or something. I was just so hot, and that's more words that went on through it. So that whatever that is or was what I experienced.
Wow. Cool.
We're really tripping here today. And look at Steve.
I know Steve disappears in that light.
Disappears into the light.
Yeah.
So right before I closed my eyes, the Steve light appeared. It was like, and for some reason, what that sent into me was, beam me up, Scotty.
Ah.
And I got the beam me up, Scotty thought and the emerald thought. So I was experiencing the beam me up into the emerald light thing. And it was so interesting because as I have turned 65 and been stumbling around with my lymphedema and all these things, and my mom died at 55 and my dad died at 70. So my brothers and sisters and I'm the second oldest, we're like, okay, well, when we made it past 55, all of us were like, okay, made it, and my youngest brother just accomplished that last year. But I start to look around because neither one of them, they both died of cancers. So neither one of them, like I have friends that have parents that lived into old age and they were, during the supporting parents in old age and stuff. My parents didn't live that long. My dad retired in January and died that March.
Wow.
And so anyway, I don't really have personal experience with people except for my friends' families, people growing old and having that experience of growing old. So I've been kind of looking, I don't know, I mean, like not with focus, but like things are floating in and out of me. And one of the things that's been floating in and out of me lately is because I'm like, I've always been so mission driven and purpose driven, like for years, my job was the most important thing to me, the service of that. And anyway, so I've kind of been without meaning to, well, I don't know, not meaning to, but anyway, I've been thinking about, well, maybe that's what reincarnation means. Maybe like it's not all that important that I don't get all these things done because it's just this round, and maybe they'll come around a different way next round or whatever. So, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Maybe we're always free to just, be because it never really ends. And then, so I'm trying to get to what happened to me in the light was when it was beam me up, Scotty experience didn't beam me from here to another place. It beamed me into the particles of the green ether that just remained the particles of the green ether and was just kind of floating around. And there wasn't another place that you were supposed to be. It was just like being part of the essence of the air or something.
Wow.
And that was a fascinating way to be. Just fascinating. Anyway, I don't know if any of that made sense, but that was my experience.
Very cool. Very cool. Linda.
Yeah, it made total sense. It was really cool. um, my experience was more of becoming aware of how I've been, even through the trip, and it's like always doing what's next. And so a lot of mental energy, a lot of figuring things out. I also had, I don't know if I said this earlier, that several people have canceled their work. And so my schedule is really switching around. And I've had some overnights come in, which sort of fill the blanks, but not in the right fitting right. So that's where, so this alignment kind of thing about alignment and connection, it felt like it was a lot more of just me coming into my body. And there was a sense of anchoring and then sort of the playful, oh, of course, that's it, get out of my mind. And then that's when this emerald light came in. And I always think of that as healing light, and just allowed myself just to go with that for a while. And anyway, I don't really remember now the rest of it, but there was a lot of just that floating in awareness of the something that's out there, of that which we all are, but it's not tangible enough to say it's that, because that would be limiting, so all of that.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Mine was really feeling the alignment, both like, my chakras like that, but then like my spine coming into alignment, and then like the cells and the connective tissue in my body. So very physical. And then the connecting with you, and then connecting with the universe, and connecting with our greater purpose, and connecting. It was just like this whole web. That was really beautiful. So it is 6:15. Do you want to run another 37 seconds, another minute, just because we always do? I do have a class at 6:30 that I'm taking, so I don't have a lot of extra time. What's your preference?
Do 37.
All right,
It's fine.
we're gonna top this off. And here we go. Ready? Go. Take a breath. Know that these frequencies are going to continue to work in and through us. In fact, let's just close out with a word or two from each of us, and then I'm going to run them again for another 2 minutes, even though I'm going to walk away. We can close out, and then I'm going to run them again. But just another word or two from everybody. How was that one?
Icing on the cake.
Cool.
Mine was trust. Mine was trust.
Ah,
Just trust it. Trust it.
Mm. Mine was, it's already filtering out there, and someone over here has caught it and totally believes that we should be paying attention, right? Yeah, okay.
yeah. Cool,
All right.
cool.
I don't know. I just floated away.
Yeah,
I don't have a word.
yeah, yeah.
Just a reminder to send the PDF though.
Okay, yes, I will
Yeah.
do. Yes,
Yeah, they've changed.
yes. I love you all. I think maybe I'll take a little video of those kids because I wanted to show them to you, but I don't know what they're doing, and I've got
A video would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
I love you all.
Have fun at class.
View.
Thank you. See you
Good
next.
night, all.
Well,
Thanks for
bye-bye.
the sunbeam there, Steve.
Yeah, that was
cool.
awesome. All
My
right.
pleasure.
And I'm going to run 2 minutes starting now. So
Okay.
enjoy at your leisure or whenever, however you do it. Started. All right.
Bye-bye.
I think it is the show.
I'll see you tomorrow.